So I would say it again. LeBron was very supportive of us and our process, but chose not to be heavily involved, and we respected that. Anthony Davis, our other captain, chose to be very involved and was very involved. I talked to him throughout the process and got a lot of help and wisdom from him, and he was very excited for today.
What's going on there, guys? We back with another one. Today we got to talk some more about this JJ Redick thing as it pertains to Shannon Sharpe, Stephen A. Smith, and others who's been speaking on his name about the podcast with LeBron James. And JJ answered a lot of those questions in his introductory press conference yesterday, but seemingly took some shots at Stephen A. Smith and others who he accused of content farming, narratives around the Lakers' pursuit of him as the head coach. And some of the narratives that's been out there. And we're going to look back at some of the times JJ Redick and Stephen A. Smith has clashed over the Lakers, because people looking at it now like, okay, this podcast was just a job interview. It was just a job interview for JJ Redick. They knew who they were going to hire. Dan Hurley was just a diversion from what was actually going to happen anyway. Wanted people to look at it like, oh, see, LeBron isn't running it. But I don't think they're going to be able to sell to the public LeBron didn't have a lot to do with this hire, as JJ suggested in his introductory press conference. But we're going to listen to a few times Stephen A. Smith and JJ went at it over the Lakers when he was on First Take, and I'll be back. Let's pick.
Sports. Everything he does is for a reason. And whether this is to put a little bit of pressure on the Lakers to improve the roster, whether this is to send a subtweet to his teammates, whatever it is, there's a reason he did this. But I believe there's some earnesty in these comments, and it's not just for a calculated reason. He's coming off year 20, age 38, a long playoff run where he's had to play a ton of minutes with an injury, and it's just human nature that you would begin to say, oh, maybe I'm nearing the end.
Go ahead, Wendy. I mean, I listened to every word JJ just said. I don't understand much of what he just said, but I listen. But go ahead, Wendy.
Well, you didn't play,
you first,
Stephen A.
and then I'll try. Exactly.
You didn't play.
I didn't comprehend. I'm sorry.
You don't understand athletic mortality. 3 games at wherever South Dakota, Winston-Salem State doesn't count.
I got you. I understand. I got a degree, and I'm here on TV with you. I must be doing something right.
Oh, you're definitely doing things right.
You damn right. Go ahead,
Okay,
Wendy.
guys, let's go.
So you had a few moments like that live on First Take, and JJ has kind of distanced himself from the program a lot this year. You've seen more Big Perk, you've seen more Austin Rivers, you've seen more people like that up there, and JJ Redick really not being on there like that. And obviously, he had his podcast before he had Mind of the Game with LeBron James, but he also had an interview with the Charlotte Hornets, did an initial interview, but said in his press conference yesterday that he didn't go back. And so what we're going to look at next is JJ Redick, some of the things that were said about him over the last few weeks from analysts that were on ESPN. Let's check it out.
I just spent 20 years of my NBA career in the locker room, and the one thing that I noticed as the NBA progressed and the talent got better is these young boys started worrying more and more about the shit they can't control. Bringing in a guy who like JJ Redick, who once again, I think has a great basketball IQ. I think can have a bright future in the NBA coaching, but he has a relationship with LeBron James. So we understand how when you walk into that locker room and you're speaking and you're trying to figure out how to win a championship, you got to trim a lot of fat and you got to cut through a lot of different things that most coaches won't have to cut through. I had a chance to speak to JJ after I made that comment, and JJ understood exactly where I came from. He understood how it's going to be when he walks in that position. When you talk about the NBA right now, you can have talent. You got LeBron James. You got Anthony Davis, but can you connect the dots in that locker room? Is it going to be quiet? Can you quiet the noise? Can you have one voice in that locker room? Because you only need one voice going. You don't need 5 voices. You don't need LeBron talking. You don't need AD talking. You don't need an opinion from this guy. You need one voice, one sound, and everybody listen.
I know you said that he and JJ had that podcast, Mind the Game, and it's supposed to be X's and O's. Let me tell you something. If you ever want to start a podcast, and this is what I tell Stephen A., you got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to branch out. Because if all you talk about X's and O's, It ain't gonna last very long. You have to talk about other
Perk been saying
things.
that for months. Perk been saying that for months.
All right.
I think JJ is a different situation because of the situation LeBron James and his camp created by doing that podcast in the middle of the season, knowing that Darvin Ham was on a hot seat. I don't care what anybody says. That was a very egregious thing to do. I'm not talking about the podcast. Wendy knows I'm not doing this. Wendy knows I'm not doing this. I'm not talking about the podcast itself. I'm talking about the timing. The Lakers get eliminated and LeBron James and JJ do their podcast. It's no problem. This summer starts, they're doing their podcast. It's no problem. Darvin Ham was on the hot seat. And that's when LeBron James, in the middle of the season, decides to do a podcast with a brilliant cerebral basketball mind, and they're breaking down plays. They're talking plays. They're talking, am I lying, Wendy? They're talking plays. They're talking schemes. They're talking strategies. They're talking all of these things. Say what? You never seen what before, Wendy? Never seen what before?
I've never seen, I mean, this is a new thing I've never done in the NBA, what you're talking about, this podcast. Never seen anything like it.
That's right.
But
And
Wendy,
props to them because it was Mavericks Carter. It was Mavericks Carter idea. He brought it to LeBron James, according to what my sources tell me. It wasn't LeBron James. But damn it, LeBron James is his own man. You're wearing a Lakers uniform. You are a player. You know your coach is on the hot seat. And deciding to do a podcast about games, about basketball, with specifics in mind, schemes, and how you coach and how you draw plays up and what you should be doing, how you strategize, et cetera, while your coach is on a hot seat and you knew the Lakers would more than likely be looking for a coach next season, is one of the most egregious things we have seen a basketball player do to a coach. What I can tell you is this. Numerous coaches, black coaches, called me expressing how they took issue with that podcast taking place. And I think you know enough to know that that's true. Some of them felt very salty about that.
So that's just a few of the comments that were made, over the last few weeks about JJ Redick. And I'm just using ESPN specifically because that's the network, you would see them on sometimes talking basketball. And now they're bringing in Tim Legler and others to kind of occupy that spot that JJ once had. Now, Tim Legler's been with the network. I'm saying you seeing him more on First Take and things like that, though. And so JJ, he kind of responded to some of this stuff yesterday. Most specifically, we're going to look at him talking about the podcast and also, his response to analysts and things that's been said about him lately.
LeBron and I did not talk about the Lakers job until Thursday afternoon, about 30 minutes after I was offered the job. And that was very intentional on both our parts. I knew I had an understanding that he did not want to be involved in this. And for me, I didn't want to go down the path of hypotheticals with someone that I consider a friend and someone that I have a great amount of respect for. So for us, it just came down to literally Thursday afternoon. And I talked to him for about 15, 20 minutes and got off the phone. That was it. I am, for the time being, and hopefully it's a very, very long time, I am excommunicated from the content space. So there would be no podcast. We'll do something when I have a breather from what we have coming up. I'm going to be drinking out of a fire hose for the next month. But at some point, we'll just do something for all the people that listened, and we'll have a small little video. But I'm done with podcasting for now.
It's a valid question, and I've certainly heard everything. It's been a really interesting 6 weeks or so, just in terms of being part of the engagement farming industry. It's been really interesting. However, I don't really have a great answer for your question because I really don't give a fuck. Like, honestly, I want to coach the Lakers. I want to coach the team. I don't want to dispel anything. I don't. I want to become a great coach in the NBA, and I want to win championships, and I want my players to maximize their careers.
So today on First Take, we got a response from Stephen A. Smith, and I guess, it's for him to silence some of the noise or trying to silence anyone that thought that that was directed at him, which it definitely was, because JJ has directed things to you on your show. Maybe it's not just you, but you're definitely one of the people he's talking about. But Stephen A wished him well and all that. Let's take a listen to that.
Before I get into the basketball portion of this conversation, I don't think I'm out of pocket by speaking on behalf of this entire show with Molly, yourself, Shay, Legs, and everybody else. To JJ Redick, number one, congratulations. And number two, I don't know how I work at other networks, but we root for our teammates here. So make no mistake about it, all of us are rooting for you. All of us want you to succeed, JJ. Congratulations, and we hope that you make the Lakers a raving success and you have a very prosperous coaching career. That's what we do here.
So Stephen A. Smith, had to let it be known that he was not hating on JJ Redick, or, from his perspective, he's not hating on JJ Redick. He wanted to let the world know that. Now, JJ Redick is going to be under fire. It's going to be championship or bust. Again, this is going to be viewed as one of those moves that LeBron James has put together. Now, LeBron has said he's not been involved with roster input, coaching input. Anytime you ask him, he's going to say he hasn't. But, when it happens everywhere that you go, we know that you're involved. And that's okay as the franchise player. I'm not taking it away from him. You should be involved with these type of things, as most franchise players are. I think it's just the amount of reorganizing rosters and, the amount of coaches he's played for that people kind of look at it a certain way, and LeBron knows it's viewed a certain way. So he tries to stay away from the conversation and pull strings in the background, which is cool, which is cool. But you're going to have to deliver a championship. And it's been reported today that they want to go out, exhaust him and AD want the Lakers to go all out, exhaust all options of trying to bring in another superstar. And when you make that maximum money like they making, we saw that big threes ain't gonna win you no championship. Who would they like to get? Like that's what I'm trying to figure out. Who's the other superstar they think gonna come and complement their games well? And what do you expect the rest of the roster to look like? That worked with a young LeBron at peak athletic, at his peak athletic ability, and he's able to hide so many things. He can guard a power forward. In this day and age, can guard a lot of the centers, but centers kind of coming back. He can't guard Jokic at this point. Again, but I think it's more about going and putting together a good roster. What's this whole thing about trying to get a third person that's going to be on the All-Star team? You need to get a bunch of players. You need to get you some Derek Whites, get you some Drew Holidays, which those guys may actually be one-of-one type players because nobody puts pressure on the ball kind of like Drew Holiday. But you know what I'm saying, getting upper-tier players, but they ain't necessarily got to be all-stars, and there's money to go around for those type of players where you can get multiple of those or just get one person that's been deemed a superstar. That just is not a recipe for success. And so if they're really trying to just get one person, I think they are looking back to like his Miami days, or looking back to KD joining the Warriors and stuff like that. You can't do that at this point. We're seeing deep teams win, and we're seeing the bench really mean a lot for, and the production off the bench mean a lot for teams that are in contention at this point, which I like the game like that more. It's healthier this type of way. But yeah, man, JJ Redick kind of responded to some of that. And I want to know what you guys think about everything that was said, about JJ Redick. How do y'all feel about this hire? What do you think the Lakers will do this season? Do you think this was the right man for the job? Or do you feel like the Lakers really blew it again? LeBron James is pulling all the strings. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.